Hello, everybody. It's Sarah Seidelman here, and I've got another person for my Hummingbird series where I interview people that I think you will want to know. And today I have Inger Kenobi, who wrote the amazing book, How Do I Look, which has the most, is this cover not the best? How Do I Look? The Year I Stopped Shopping. And it's part memoir and it's part like, oh gosh, it's so great. You guys are going to love this book. So Inger, please say hello.
Hello, everyone. And yes, can I just say the cover is amazing. My uncle made it for me. He's an illustrator, an amazing artist. So I'm so glad he did that for me.
It is just so chic and fun, and it's so awesome. So I am super excited to have you because this book like touched on so many things. So Inger basically decided one year, why don't you tell us what you decided to do? Like how did this happen that you decided to quit shopping for any clothes for a year?
So random, or well, not so random, but it wasn't my idea. My best friend, she's a journalist, very curious journalist. And so she picks up everything that happens around the world. And she was like devastated by this news that there had been this like horrible factory fire in one of these like fast fashion factories somewhere in Bangladesh or something. It was before Rana Plaza, but it was like a fire. And she was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't in good conscience keep shopping for clothes when the people who produce the clothes live and die under these conditions where other people are getting super rich. And what about the pollution? What about the consumption? What about climate change? And she was just like, I can't do this anymore. Do you want to not shop with me for a year as a challenge? And I love a good challenge, and anything I do with her is super fun. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. So that's kind of how it started.
I love it. And it's so in the book, it starts off like innocently enough, she's going to just quit shopping for clothes. Like, how hard can it be? Like, I've got a closet full of clothes. But
Yeah.
then it's like you really like immediately the challenges start coming. And yeah, I just loved your candidness and your honesty, because I think a lot of us you like shopping is our go-to when the mood is low, or when like, I don't know, there's nothing to do, or it's a new season, or there's a million reasons which you outline in the book. But talk about like, how hard was that? Like, tell us about like maybe one of the challenges.
Well, what was hard was that I thought I had a closet full of amazing clothes. So I was like, I can easily do this. I mean, I think, but then I was like in my late 30s. And so been shopping for decades, not like I'm not a shopaholic or anything, but you accumulate. And so I was like, how can this be? I have so many great clothes. And then of course, I think I have great clothes because if I don't like something, I could always, replace it with something nicer. And so I kind of missed the memo to myself that I had a bunch of clothes, but I basically didn't want to wear half of them. And later I realized that women only wear 20% of all the clothes they buy. And, none of us think that this is the case. And I certainly did not think this was the case. And when I stopped shopping, I didn't even know about that statistic. I just thought, I have so many great clothes, this will be easy. And then I realized I hated half of my clothes. I wore half of my trousers, hated all my t-shirts. The cashmere sweater had a rip in it. And here I was going to a wedding. And then I started to spin, like, what if I have to go to a funeral? I don't have a funeral dress. It's like, so I realized that my so-called great closet was not so great.
Yeah, but in the end, which I thought was so curious, you kind of really fell in love with your clothes through the process.
Yeah.
I mean, you started to appreciate what you did have. One of the things I learned last year when I did this group, Authentic Fashion February, where most of us, well, we did some thrift shopping, and there were no rules about this. We didn't say you have to stop shopping, but what I realized is that when you kind of prioritize creativity over consumption, like it's incredible. Like we all have closets full of clothes, or most of us do, but we just haven't taken the time to be creative with them, to make combinations and things like that.
Well, combination is exactly the word, because what we realized is that there was a lot of clothes, great clothes, that we were saving for later. Like for what? We didn't know, but like the nice silk dress or that precious whatever. And when those clothes were allowed to come out from, the obscurity behind all the like non-used clothes, and like, what am I saving this for? So then I started not exactly going to work in a ball gown, but I could wear like a beautiful silk skirt with a regular t-shirt, or I could wear like a really nice top with jeans. And so yeah, once I got over the initial shock of like, shit, I hate all my clothes, but I didn't have then the, option to go shopping. That's when like the creativity kicked in. I don't think I thought of it as like, oh, now being creative, but I was like forced to think in new ways.
Yeah, with that limitation put
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
And I love that. So Ingrid also has spent a lot of time. She lived for 7 years in a Buddhist monastery. Was it 7 years?
And
10
10 years at
Buddhist
a
monastery. Oh,
center, not monastery.
details right. So I loved in the book, you kind of approach things as this mind, almost like a mindfulness exercise. Like you were really examining what was going on with you. Like when you would get an invitation to a wedding and suddenly realize, oh my gosh, I have nothing to wear because this is like a super fancy wedding and I can't buy anything new. Am I going to break the rule? Am I going to go against the promise I made to myself and to God and country? Or what am I going to do?
No, and it's interesting because I've always been interested in the workings of the mind. I don't think you end up living at a Tibetan Buddhist center for 10 years without being interested in, how the mind works, and hopefully learn to get to know yourself better and to then improve how like make the mind work for you, not against you, that kind of a thing. So I kind of had to get my mind on board and not just have this knee-jerk reaction. I have nothing to wear. I have nothing to wear. I have nothing to wear. Because I think I've met women with like walk-in closets as big as houses, and people who have like 3 pair of jeans, and both women say the same, I have nothing to wear. So it's not the amount of clothes, it's just an attitude of like, I don't see right away what I want to wear, so I have nothing to wear. And so then it was like, well, is it really true that I have nothing to wear? Like, talk about this wedding, invited to this like super fancy wedding in Australia. And I was like, I don't have a dress. I'm like, maybe I do. And then I like fished out this like old French Connection dress that I hadn't thought of as a wedding dress, but with the right hairdo and the new shoes, like the right pair. It's like, ooh, this is a nice wedding dress, but I never would have found it had I been like straight to the shop, shopping for a new, wedding dress. So it's kind of fun. It was like treasure hunting, but both in my mind and in the closet.
And in the closet. I love it. Speaking of which, I want to see your outfit now. Like, can you stand up and tell us about what you're wearing? I feel like there's an eyelet situation going on, which I'm really digging.
Okay, so this is so funny. I wasn't sure if I should wear this because this is actually a new dress.
That's
but
okay.
the reason why I chose it though is because in my mind, for years I've been like hunting for this like green dress. It has to have 3/4 sleeve. It needs to be long. It needs to be, comfortable but looking nice. And there it was. So this is another like function of like not shopping for you. You really get to know what you like, because then you understand why you never wear that sweater, why you never wear those jeans, why you never wear that t-shirt, because you prefer V-necks, not round necks, so you get to know yourself better. So anyway, so I stand, so it has a little.
So cute. I love it. I love it. I love it.
So that's my thing. It has to be comfortable.
And I'll show you my outfit, which it happens to be that today I am wearing 100% thrifted clothes, which is shocking to me. I just got this like tuxedo blouse. It's like J. Crew. It was Brooks Brothers for $3. People, you can get the craziest deals. Yeah. But yeah, let's get back to this idea. Like when we stop shopping, I think we get really clear on, we make a list, which is something I always aspired to be one of those people who's like, I'm looking this season for a pair of faux crocodile boots and a low heel. And I'd be like, who are these people? I just go out and I'm like, whatever sparks my fancy, I just grab it and throw it in the cart. I didn't shop that way. Like, why do you think taking a break, how did that help you to become more of a really like a conscious shopper or a thoughtful shopper?
Well, I think, there's a lot of like burden on the consumer, talk about being a conscious shopper, of trying to investigate which companies are great and which one are the fair trade and which one are the environmental. And all of that is fine. But I still think, to me, a core principle is like knowing what you like. Then you stop shopping for stuff you never wear, and that in and of itself will save the environment. So I'm not saying just go out and buy from like whoever, the worst offenders, but I think more than anything, it's important to just really get to know what you like, so you don't end up spending your money and the natural resources and closet space on clothes you sort of kind of maybe could like if I lived in a warmer climate, if I lost 10 pounds, if I was taller, if I had the right pair of shoes, if I went on a picnic, maybe if I became like, so many like ifs and buts and hows, instead of just like, will I wear this tomorrow?
That was one of my favorite rules. Don't buy
Yeah.
it. You will not wear it tomorrow, because if it's something, I mean, that was one of the things I learned last year in Authentic Fashion February, is there are these pieces of clothing. I forget what they call it. Somebody gave it a wonderful term. They're kind of like zowie wowie pieces. Like,
I,
yeah, when you walk into an H&M, you're like, oh my God, look at that rainbow sequin sweater. It just stands out. It's nothing you've ever seen. You don't have it. But those pieces we tend not to wear very much, because they're such a statement. Like, it's not typically something we're going to use like tomorrow, for example.
yeah, and I think like what one of my discoveries is that I love vintage clothes. So I had a lot of Grace Kelly-esque dresses. Not so practical for going to work. And how often was I going on like a costume ball, or how often was I going to a vintage whatever? So I had like piled up thinking I had a lot of these, like, but I had a lot of costumes, which was so weird because I'd never like connected the dots. You know, it's like how little we know ourselves is always astonishing to me.
Really is. And that brings me to one of the things I loved, is that you talked in the book about like your clothes telling a story, and how through different ages of your life you had, used people who inspired you to step into their style as a way of stepping into yourself more fully, through the years. And like that our
Yes.
clothes tell a story about ourselves, like, can you say a little bit more about that, or maybe past stories you've had and what's your
Well,
current?
I think it's interesting to have like one thing I read in by this, of course, the French never get fashion wrong. I know, like, I just feel like everything they put on looks amazing. So I read this fashion book, The Parisian Style or something, by an ex-French model. And she said, when in doubt, think of a role model, a fashion role model, and think, would she wear this or not? And if not, then maybe not buy it, because we can get so, like you said, ooh, look at that dress, look at that, ooh, yellow handbag, crocodile shoes, or this, oh, maybe I should wear hats, like we can be so swept away in like the newest trends or the glittery things or what's going on. But then like bring it a little bit back down to like, will I wear this? Is this something my style icon would wear? And well, no. Well, because it wouldn't fit in with anything else. It would again be a costume or something you never wear, or shoved in the back of the closet. And then every time you look at it, filled with guilt. So some of my fashion icons are like Jackie Kennedy. I loved her for a lot, like, and Audrey Hepburn with like the 3/4 sleeves. I love 3/4 sleeves on just like everything. And sometimes I realize like, oh, I'm getting a bit too like dull, like I need to freshen it up again. Who has like a fresh style? And so you can like, I'm getting a bit boring and dull here. Who has a funner style? And it just kind of course corrects. And that helps me, and like, well, not exactly stay the course, because I still don't have a style, but I have people who I admire. And when I wear their types of clothes, like I love the costumes in Killing Eve. And then it's like, ooh, maybe I can wear bolder earrings and a fun handbag or whatever, just to play with it for a little bit and not take it so seriously.
Yes, that's the thing I think that I've really enjoyed, is like taking it less seriously, because it's such a playful art form. I just want to check my notes and see what my other thing was that I wanted to ask. Um, Yeah. And then the other thing you were talking about in the book, which I loved, is that hair is like a whole thing. And that you've always been known for having long hair, and like you learned how to do all these crazy things with it. And I love your fishtail braid, which is so awesome. Oh, and the clip and everything. I did not plan this today. I forgot that I was doing a video, but anyway, yeah, tell us, because I think that's something that we overlook with our style, but like you could change a whole outfit with your style. And you said something in there that I thought was really interesting about when you have a really fancy outfit, a rule of thumb to work with your hair. I don't know if you remember that, but
Yeah, like so not to like be over the top. So if I wear like a regular like James Dean's outfit, jeans and a white t-shirt, maybe then I'll do a crazy beehive hairdo. But if I'm wearing like a vintage dress, maybe I don't want to go over the top, so I look like some kind of weird character. So like balancing like the super fancy hairdo with plain outfit and plain hairdo with super fancy outfit, I think for me that like kind of works. So yeah, again, it's just, but it also gives me excuse then when I have just a regular outfit, like how to like oomph it up a bit, like fish tail braid, or like something different. Or I've always had really long hair, not always, but often had really long hair. And I think it's fun to play with hair, different braids, ponytail, not ponytails. And you can change an entire outfit. That's the point we were getting to. You can change an entire outfit just with your hair. So you don't necessarily need a new clutch bag or a new thing or new, like hair is also free. It is on your body. It takes 5-10 minutes to do something. It's like you can go endlessly creative with your hair and at zero cost. And the next day, if you hate it, you haven't wasted anything. You just change your hairstyle.
And there's all these amazing YouTubers. So guys, if you're like, well, I don't really know what to do, you can learn how to style your hair. That was one of the things I learned. Like, I'm not great with that stuff, but I did learn some fun new techniques. And same with style. There's so many amazing resources out there. So like if somebody is wanting to be more conscious with their wardrobe and wanting to feel better in their clothes and also not be such a consumer, like be creative over consuming, like what would you, if you had advice to give them, what would you suggest to them?
Well, I would suggest maybe, first of all, just taking stock, like honest to God stock of your wardrobe. And like, how much of this would I actually wear? Not like, oh, it's so funny because a friend of mine, she's decluttering and she's like, maybe I should get rid of this belt from Thailand that doesn't really fit. And I'm like, Thailand? When were you in Thailand? And she's like, 20 years ago. I'm like, hello, why are you still clinging to this belt that you never worn? It's just so crazy. So in order before, like, I think taking stock, like, I noticed that I bought a lot of the same things. They didn't really add to my wardrobe, but I love white blouses. I don't really need 10, right? And so just taking stock, like what do I have? What are the gaps? And what would be fun to have more of? Wow, I have a lot of like jeans, but no fancy dress, or the other way around, or I have a lot of t-shirt, but no jackets. And so just like noticing, so we don't always, because I think we tend to buy the same stuff over and over. So people will have an abundance of something and really lacking, but keep buying the abundant stuff still, adding to that pile instead of the other. So I think first take stock and just get really clear. What do I like and what do I like to wear? Like my thing is like, I needed to be comfortable and pretty. Beauty is like high on my list, but so is comfort. So I will never buy something that looks awesome, but feels like a straitjacket. So just like noticing too, if something looks nice, but it feels awful, do not feel obligated to keep it,
Amen. And I think you and I agree on the fact, like, we both need to get our hands dirty. Like we need to be able to move and like do things like, and so that's a big thing for me for getting dressed. And figuring out what you like, after you've taken stock. And speaking of taking stock, I remember noticing last year, like I kept buying the same hot pink sweater. Why? I have a hot pink couch now. So now I am free. Like I do not have to buy any more hot pink sweaters because I didn't even like wearing them, but it was like the color drew me in. So I think sometimes our brain responds to different things. But one of the things I found powerful is like creating a Pinterest board of stuff that outfits you dig. And then sometimes you're like, wow, I have all the ingredients for this. I've just never thought of putting those things together. So that can be really helpful too.
I think so. I was stressing out about like, because at the time I worked at the Norwegian Embassy and there was like function after function after function after function with dress code after, I literally lived in a world where you had to, abide by certain dress codes, not every day at work, but certainly for these functions. And I was like, nothing to wear, nothing to wear. And then I was like, then you get a little bit creative. Who does a lot of public functions? I was like, Kate Middleton. I don't necessarily love all of her clothes, but I noticed that, she wears a lot of coats. So it's like, I have a lot of coats. Maybe I can have like coaty outfits for these functions. And that's when I started to like noticing like, but I don't like this long sleeve and this color is wrong. And I know how to sew. So for me, it was like an easy fix, but you can take it to a tailor or a seamstress or someone in your family. And you can ask, can you hem this coat? Can you change the buttons for me? There's some easy fixes you can do once you again get like just very specific about what you like. And so if you find yourself in a bind, it's like, who does the kind of things that I need to do and what do they wear? And how can I, create that in my own wardrobe without going like ballistic shopping?
Totally. That was one of my favorite parts when you were altering outfits and like switching things up for people. I was just like, oh my gosh, I want to see photos of this. It was just really super fun. Like that creativity over consumption. Like how can I be resourceful instead of shopping? Like,
resourcefulness takes you a long way. And also the woman I was not shopping with, she's a journalist again. She has to like blend in and wear different outfits for different like stories and stuff. And she was making this huge story at this like really like fancy golf course up in Scotland. And she's like, oh, I know you have that Olympian V-neck. Can I borrow it? Because I need to wear something more sporty. And so I sent it to her. She borrowed it for the day. She mailed it back to me. You can borrow clothes. We've totally forgotten how to do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, tell us, like, how can people work with you, and tell us, like, what is your specialty as a coach? Because you are so much fun, Ingrid, and more people need to work with you.
So what I work with now mostly is like I help entrepreneurs, coaches, healers, artists, photographers, creative people mostly. Creatives and healers and spiritual people seems to be the main categories. Create some kind of business structure that is tailored to them. It's so funny because it kind of fits in with like tailoring your wardrobe to meet your needs and not just what's in fashion and not what just someone else is wearing, because a dress could look super great on her, but not on me, right? Because we're different people. So I help people like design a business structure and a strategy that is filled with like, fun things like their guilty pleasures and their passions and their personality. Because oftentimes people feel like they need to be so professional. I'm a healer now. This is what I would, and I need to, work on my funnel and the email list. And what about Facebook ads? And they get so wrapped up in all the things they should do that they forget to look at what would make their structure come alive in a fun and sustainable way. So that's mostly what I do these days. I have this structure called Perfect Fit because I tailor it to fit their needs.
I love that. And tell us your website so we know where to find you. And I'll put it in the links too.
IngerKenobi.com. Kenobi like Obi-Wan Kenobi. So INGER Kenobi.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. And if anybody's excited to come join Authentic Fashion February, we're going to start that at the end of January. So I'll put a link for that too.
Everyone should join. It was so fun. You think it's about the clothes, but it affects your mind, your emotions, your creative sense. It's like there's so many layers in there that you do not know until you experience it for yourself.
Yes, you'll learn so much, and you'll get better at dressing yourself in ways that support you. So yeah, thank you, Inger. Mwah.
Bye.
Bye.